John here, and back with another review. And today, talking about and reviewing the 2018 film Ocean's 8, which stars Sandra Bullock. You also have Cate Blanchett, Anne Hathaway, Mindy Kaling, Sarah Paulson, Aquafina, Rihanna, and Helen Bonham Carter. Directed by Gary Ross. And at the end of the day, I just felt this was forgettable, pedestrian, uneven. Now, when you look back over these films, Ocean's 11 from 2001, which I know is a remake, but I like that movie. I mean, you had a very good cast. You had George Clooney, Brad Pitt, but, the supporting cast, I mean, you had in there guys like Bernie Mac and Matt Damon, Carl Reiner, and the back and forth and the banter between those characters was fun, and I enjoyed it. And like I said, it's a good flick. It's one of the few good remakes where, nowadays remakes are commonplace and a lot of them turn out to be crap. Ocean's 11 is one of the few good ones that we don't talk about much. When it comes to the sequels, I haven't seen the sequels, and to be honest, I just don't have a lot of interest in checking out the sequels from stuff I've heard. But, when you look back at these films, did Ocean's 11 really need sequels? Let alone this movie, which I know this is sort of its own movie, but did it really need a franchise? In my opinion, no. But that's just me. But get into this film, the plot, you have Sandra Bullock's character, Debbie Ocean, who is the sister of Danny Ocean, George Clooney's character from the previous movies. And you find out in the first 5 minutes that his character died. They don't explain how or what happened, but his character died. And Sandra Bullock's character just got out of prison, and she wants to pull off a heist at the New York City's annual Met Gala. So she soon assembles her own crew, a team of the best in their field, to steal a necklace that's worth more than $150 million. And that's pretty much the plot of the film. Now, getting into the cast, Sandra Bullock, I said before, she's my favorite actress. Going back to films like, Demolition Man and Speed and The Net. A lot of good movies. And here, she's the main character. But it seems like at times, like, she doesn't want to be there. I don't know if I'm the only one that got that vibe. But, throughout the film, I mean, I would say out of the cast, her character is the best. But, at the same time, it's like, I don't know, it just seems like she's just there at points, like, she doesn't want to be there. But again, I don't know if I'm the only one that felt like that. But you also have Cate Blanchett in the film, who's sort of like the Brad Pitt to, that character, the George Clooney's character. Cate Blanchett sort of plays that character. And she's fine. I mean, she's a good actress. And, the back and forth between her and Sandra Bullock, I didn't mind. Like, it's there. But for the rest of the cast, I mean, you look at the rest of the cast, there's not much to these characters. I mean, you have Sarah Paulson in the film, which I don't mind her as an actress, but there's nothing to her character, and she's given not much to do. You have Rihanna in the film, who plays this computer whiz, Nine Ball, but there's not much to her, and you don't really care. The same for Mindy Kaling, is just you don't care. Aquafina, who I assume is the Asian chick, sort of like how that character Yen in Ocean's 11, which funny enough, that character comes back here towards the end of the film. But I didn't care for her character. You also have Helen Bonham Carter, good actress, I mean, from films like Fight Club. But in here, it's like she's in the background, more like her character. She's just there in the background and not doing much and not given much to do. Anne Hathaway, she's sort of, they kind of set it up as like she's a villain, but she's more of this rich character, this rich woman. that has a necklace. And spoiler alert, for those who haven't seen the film, after they pull off this heist, basically Anne Hathaway was told about, this crew pulling off this heist. She knew about it. And by the end, Anne Hathaway joins the group just to get back at this guy that Sandra Bullock had a thing for in the past. And he did her wrong. This guy did Sandra Bullock wrong, so Sandra Bullock wants to get back. She wants to get even with this guy. So they pin him that this is the guy that stole the necklace. They frame him by the end of the movie. So it's like, why go through all this trouble? Why go through this heist? If it was just about getting even with this guy, why go through all this crap? You could have just... But that's just something I noticed. But Anne Hathaway, I'm just not the biggest fan of. I didn't really care for her character. And, again, the whole thing there of, basically by the end, it's Sandra Bullock, she wants to get even with this guy, so they frame him for stealing the necklace. So it's like, what's the whole point of going through this heist? But, there's plenty of ways you could have got even with this guy. But anyways, I would say out of the cast, maybe Sandra Bullock, okay, she's the best character, but at the same time, it just kind of feels like she's just there. Cate Blanchett, okay, they're back and forth, okay, but that's all that's all I give the cast. And really, thinking about this afterwards, this film should have been made 15 years ago, 17 years ago, where if you wanted to make an all-female sort of take on the ocean movies, you could have brought in top actresses and just make a big ensemble. I would have kept, Sandra Bullock, but you could, back in the day, if this was made 15 years ago, you could have brought in Michelle Pfeiffer or Uma Thurman. Maybe Demi Moore could have played that Andy Garcia type of villain role. You could have brought in Lucy Liu. I mean, there's other actresses. Like here, it's like you got Sandra Bullock, Cate Blanchett, and they're kind of surrounded by a lot of, no names. And I know, Helen Bonham Carter's a good actress, but again, she's just not given much to do. But if this was made 15, 17 years ago, if you wanted to go that route and, have a lot of top actresses, make it a big ensemble. Again, Sandra Bullock, you could have had Michelle Pfeiffer, Thurman, whatever names you want to throw out. But for the most part, I didn't really care for the cast. Directed by Gary Ross, who, this guy in the past directed films like Pleasantville and Seabiscuit. So it's an odd choice for a director. I'm not saying he's a bad director, but it's just odd. It's like the guy that directed Seabiscuit directed this movie. Soderbergh produced. The guy that directed the first movie produced this movie. Why didn't they get him to direct this movie? Maybe somebody knows. Somebody can fill in the blanks there. Why wasn't he brought up, or why didn't he take over the director's chair? I'm not saying it would have made it better, but I thought he did a good job on the first movie. The pacing of the film, it's near an hour and 50 minutes, and you definitely feel it. I mean, there's some, slow spots throughout the film. Didn't really care for the song choices. And, the film, the budget was around $70 million, and box office it made $297.7 million, so it made a little bit of a profit. But it came out to lukewarm reception, and that's when you had, a few actresses out there, call out the critics for not liking the film. It's like, here we go again, with that BS. It's like no one wants to take accountability. It's like sometimes a film can be a misfire. Sometimes a film can be a dud. And that's what this film was. It's a dud. And it just shows that this didn't really need, this didn't need to be a franchise. And again, I know this is sort of its own because, it's all female cast, but like I said before, I have not seen the Ocean sequels. I've had no interest. Like as far as I'm as far as I'm going to go was the first movie. But it just shows that you didn't need this, and it was just unneeded, and again, forgettable, by the numbers. And so I don't know what else to add. I mean, as far as like appearances, you had the character Ruben come back from, the first movie. Elliot Gould's character Ruben, he appears in the beginning of the film. You have Yin, that character, he comes back towards the end of the film. But it's just overall, at the end of the day, it's just a forgettable movie, and it's a film that just wasn't needed. If this was made 15, 17 years ago, and if you would have had top actresses in there, it probably would have been more interesting and not make it an Ocean's movie. But yeah, so I don't know what else to add. Just a forgettable endeavor of a movie. But that's my review of Ocean's 8. Thank you for watching, and have a good day.